Well, hello. Today I'd like to welcome you to my review of the Noodlers Boston Safety Pen. So let's dive into it. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And, because I'm too much of a coward, I'm curious to know what experience you've had with vintage safety pens, if anybody would care to comment down below. Or, actually, I'll tell you something else and I'll get into why as I film this video. I would also be interested in, do you use a safety pen and for what purpose? So I think that could be an interesting discussion. So let's take a look at it. So I was looking recently on eBay. I found an auction for a Penkala, because you know I love Penkala, that nice Croatian company. Had a safety pen, a vintage one of course, and I thought, ooh. Then I saw the price and went, ooh. Around $300 or so dollars, and I decided to give it a pass. But I was able to get this one for double digits. This is a Noodlers offering. I will agree that it's, as some have stated in their reviews, it's kind of plain looking, a little goofy looking. Of course, it has that Noodlers clip, which I actually kind of like their clip. I actually used to be a big Noodlers fan, but I haven't been writing with them much lately. Might be a discussion for a future video. Boston Safety Pen, Noodlers Ink Company. And that's about it. It's an ebonite pen. They can be had in fancier finishes, but you know me and my slim black pens. Guess which one appealed to me? Unscrew it. Oh, shoot! Nathan Tardif forgot to put the nib on it. Well, no, he didn't. Remember, it's a safety pen. Has a, I don't know, is that the nib creeper nib? Feed has got kind of a hole in it. We'll get into why in a minute. So you push in this bit, the nib comes out. Pull it out, the nib goes in. Because the whole idea is you fill this up with an eyedropper, which I'll get to. So don't do this when the pen is full of ink. You fill it up with ink, so the nib is constantly bathed in ink. So the cap actually helps hold the ink in. Inside the cap, do we have the lighting to show it? No, of course we don't. Oh, just barely. There is a metal rod in there designed to meet up with this bit on the nib so that you don't do something disastrous like cap it and destroy the nib because you forgot to retract it. So I think that's a nice touch. I'm not going to disassemble this. There are videos out there that do so. The main reason I won't is because this has a complex set of seals and so on to hold this reservoir of ink in here. Now, what's the advantage of a safety pen? The main one is because it's constantly bathed in the ink and it doesn't dry out, you can use a lot more inks. Like they always say, don't use India ink in a fountain pen. Well, you can in this one. I don't know what the limits are on what you can and can't use. I don't know if I'd put latex paint in it or something. But it's a lot more wide open what I can put in this pen. Which, if you're an artist, may be interesting. And that's why, in my opening, I suggested I'd like to hear from people who use these. I want to know what you use it for. So let's ink it up. So just to make it fun, let's get this out of the way. Just to make it fun, the ink I have chosen is an interesting one of Noodler's inks. It's a Manjiro Nakahama Whaleman Sepia. This is an ink that dries out super fast in most pens I use it in, and I get frustrated with it. And you know, I've answered the question a few times on pens in use. Do you empty out your pens every week? And no, I kind of have a cycle and go through them, and I actually do write them dry. It may take some of them a few weeks. This would be an exception. But I've successfully used it in this pen, so that's what I'm going to do here. It has some other interesting properties which don't want to get into right now. But Nathan Tardif talks about this ink in one of his videos. I've linked to several of his videos about the pen down below in the video description. So maybe I'll try to remember after I film this to throw in the video about this ink too. So I've just put some ink into it. I'm going to put some more in. One of the things I'll just go ahead and say right now that I don't like is trying to get the ink into it. Isn't always as easy as I think it should be. As I'm experiencing right now. So we'll just call it good. I'll slip the cap on there. Give it a little whoop-de-whoop. For no reason other than to try to get that little bit of ink down inside the pen. So that's one of the faults I found with the pen. I haven't found that I get too inky, but you know, the inside of this cap is now wet with ink. So we'll bring up the nib and we're about to make a mess. Of course, my normal ink cloth is nowhere to be seen, so I had to quick grab some Kleenex. So we'll do it with the Kleenex around it, because so if I'm going to complain about this pen, that would be one of the things I'm going to complain about. It's hard to tell exactly how much to fill it. And then you end up with overflow, which is what I just had. And then you go back and you find out, oh, I could have put much more ink into it. So, something I don't like. But, since we've got the ink in it, we might as well write something. Alright, in writing the title here, one of the things I immediately noticed is some railroading. That's a thing. I mean, the writing experience is typically Noodlers. It feels just like you're using a Conrad or, you know, whatever your favorite Noodlers model is. It's the same nib. Well, not the same as a Conrad. It's the smaller one, but I mean, that same writing experience, basically. So if you don't like writing with Noodlers pens, you won't like writing with this one. The ink, Noodlers. Manjiro Nakahama. In my past experience, this pen is no more or no less likely to railroad than any other Noodler's pen. That's a function of the ink and the feed and all kinds of factors. Flex, well, Noodler says they have flex nibs. And it's Noodler's nib, so I don't mind pushing it because it's low cost enough that if I destroy it, I can replace it. So we're getting a little railroading here. But it is behaving better. So, I don't know, maybe it just needed a little time to saturate the feed. Wetness and flow. This ink is always challenging. By the way, it's a very long pen, so I don't feel like you'd really need to post it unless you're really just desperately into that kind of thing. Smear test. Of course, this ink is a little different. Yeah, it's wet-ish. Yeah. So about the same when I flex it. Reverse writing. Little scratchy. Not horrible, but a little scratchy. And finally, a longer form quote. We'll go with General Smedley Butler. I think I've quoted him before. Hope I haven't used this quote before. I'll feel stupid if I have. don't know if it's not having the lines or because it's later at night, but it seems like one of my messier writing samples I've ever done. I just want to point out this nib now, that it's got ink in it, it's been in use. If it bothers you, if nib creep bothers you, you will not like this pen. All right, and finally, we'll do the world famous Pierre Gustafson test. Does that mean it failed already? Okay, I'm not sure what that means, because you saw I had no trouble writing, and it is an artist's pen, but even though Pierre Gustafson and this pen are both New England pens, or both New England oriented, located, I've never seen a pen do this badly on the Pierre Gustafson test. That's just horrible. But you saw I had no trouble keeping up with the writing, and that's the main thing. And honestly, this is an extreme test. And when it fails this badly, I just feel obligated to remind you, I'm not going to take my Toyota Camry off-roading in the Badlands. It's just not something that Toyota Camrys are good at. Just like not all pens are meant to go off-roading and do wild and crazy swirls and scribbles. So that's what we're doing when we do the Pierre Gustafson test, is we're off-roading in the Badlands, or whatever the New England equivalent of the Badlands actually is. Probably have too much water there to have Badlands. All right, so that is the Noodler's Boston Safety Pen. One other test I always like to do, even though it's a little long for it. Yeah, it is a little long. It's got to sit side. Okay, seriously, it's... Okay, I think I can get it in my pocket. There we go. If I do it at kind of an angle, it fits in my pocket. It doesn't slip over the pocket the easiest, but not horrible. But I do have to angle it slightly sideways, so yeah, there is that to consider with your pocket test. I don't consider this a pocket pen. I don't consider it a daily writer. I would be nervous that if I was at a meeting or busy with other things, I would forget that, oh, don't turn it horizontal or you'll lose all the ink all over. So, so what do I think? When I started down this new fountain pen journey and down this extreme collecting that I've been doing the last few years, my gateway drug was Noodler's pens. At the time, the Conrad had not come out yet. They had the Noodler's Nib Creeper and the Ahab. I didn't care for the Ahab. I own one Ahab. I still don't particularly care for the model. But then the Conrad came out. That was appealing. I actually, at one time, owned quite a number of Conrads. Somewhere I either posted or should post my very first, some of my first fountain pen collection pictures. They're mostly Noodler's pens. I got quite obsessed with them for a while. And for a long time was saying, this is the pen I'd recommend for a new user, which is what I considered myself. Because, yeah, I'd been using them since I was 10, but, that was my Parker Vector and a Cross and what was the other one? Parker Frontier, I think. And that was it. So, yeah, it was exciting. And that is a good thing with Noodlers. I think Nathan created the excitement over flex, and now other companies are trying to model that and create their own flex nibs. Nathan created a lot of excitement over ink colors. He's created a lot of excitement over different pen finishes. And so we can give him a lot of credit for what he's done for the fountain pen industry. And I think this pen is very interesting because it brings back a type of pen that you really haven't seen. I did a Hero something or other and a Sty Pen Up that were both kind of had the appearance of being safety pens, but they weren't true safety pens. They just had retractable nibs. So I think it's exciting that he brought back a truly unique type of pen. This is a good one for artists. But I don't know, it suffers kind of the same thing as most of the Noodler's pens, that Yeah, they're interesting, but they take a lot of tinkering. This one has, in fairness, has taken minimal tinkering compared to some Noodlers pens I've bought. But I just want pen to work, you know? Especially when I pay this kind of money for it. So that's something you need to consider when you buy a Noodler's pen. You know, I see he's come out with a triple tail now. I don't know anything about it. I couldn't, you know, I watched one video. I thought, well, how unique is that really? And I couldn't figure that out. I think it's good that he's trying this, and good for artists, but I'll be honest, I was disappointed. I guess I expected more. And I should have known better because I know what a Noodler's Nib Creeper feels like. I used to own quite a number of them. And I should have known with the same nib it was going to have the same feel, but I guess I expected something else. So, I don't know, I'm glad the pen's in my collection. Every so often I'll ink it up. I think this is the main pen that I'll use this ink in from now on, because when I put it in my normal fountain pens, it tends to dry up and become unusable. And it's an interesting dark brown color, so I like to use it every so often. But, I don't... The hype, it doesn't work for me. There's no there with this pen, if that makes any sense. So, I always hate doing a negative review, and you won't get them from me. If I hated this pen, I wouldn't have bothered doing the review. I just kind of would have quietly, you never would have seen the pen again. First impressions, I can't avoid that, because I'll do a first impression, think, oh god, this is awful. But with reviews, yeah, if I hate the pen, I don't keep it. So, I like it, I just can't get excited about it. I would suggest looking back through my pens in use since I got the pen, which has probably been a few years. You're not going to see it in use very often. Now, in fairness, I've got so many flippin' pens that what pen is in use very often, but I don't reach for this one. So, yeah, I hate to leave you on a downer like that, but that's where I'm at with the pen, let's be honest. So, I think, though, if I was an artist and wanted to use India ink or some of these other types of material, I think I'd see a lot of potential in it, possibly with a different nib and feed. Can I say that? So, if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And, do you use a Noodler's Boston safety pen? Do you like it? Do you use some exotic inks in it? Because that's what I really want to know. What do you use it for? Have you used any vintage safety pens? I'm always scared of the vintage because of all the seals involved, and I don't trust them and don't trust my repairability at the moment. So I'd love to know your experience there too. So as always, I want to thank you for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.